And here we go. Well, welcome everyone to this Sunday night training that we do every week, except if it's a holiday. My name is Maria Williams. I am a Pro 9 in Life Vantage, and I've been doing this for almost 9 years. July 31st will be 9 years. I'm like, holy moly, where did 9 years go? My son was 9, and when the other one was 11, so they're 18, right? Crazy how time flies. But there's always new and exciting things happen, and I thought tonight we would go international. I have this amazing international Aussie, Australian team that, how do you get an Australian team? People ask me that all the time because I'm not Australian. I didn't know anyone in Australia. Well, you tell somebody who tells somebody here in the US, and they just happen to have a relative over in Australia, and then boom. I love having an Australian team, and I will tell you a little secret why to have an Australian team, because they're going into their winter. So as we are going into our summer here, and everyone, slows down a little bit, takes the foot off the gas pedal, and then regrets it later because they got to put your foot back on, they are going into winter. So they kick it up a notch. And it's always so exciting. And now that they've gotten so big, I really see how it grows in the summer for them. So I'm like so blessed that personally my business is very, well, in that regard, it gets very balanced where, the US will slow down a little. Well, the Aussies kind of pick it back up. So it's like, oh, this is beautiful. So that's how we go international. You find somebody who finds somebody who finds somebody. And this Australian team now is the most international in my business. They have all of Europe, distributors everywhere in Europe, and they're just going gangbusters. So I have two amazing moms here, and we're going to talk about today a couple of different topics. We're going to talk about how do busy moms build this, right? And it's not just for moms, busy dads, right? Anybody that works full-time, these particular moms had decided to be stay-at-home moms, but they still have their kids with them. So don't think like, oh, they were home, it's easy for them. No, their kids don't just sit there when you try to get on a call. I remember even with my 9 and 11-year-old, when I tried to get on a call, they always had a problem. Little Post-it would come over, the toaster oven, the this, the that. I'm like, oh my goodness, can't you wait? But that's how it goes, right? So they're going to talk about how they balance their life, how they've built this, how do you build international, right, when you go into this market. So Janelle's going to touch on that, and then Gillian's going to talk about team building. She did an amazing retreat with her team, and there's lots of inexpensive ways to do this, but it's so important to build community in this. So we're going to start with Janelle. And so you read her bio in the email that Stu sent out. So I want to read her bio. I want to tell you what you don't know about Janelle. So when I first met Janelle, I saw a picture of, she used to work in the mines. Now think coal mine, dirty, dusty. So when I saw this picture, she was standing beside the truck she drove. The tire of the truck was taller than her. And she's taller than me. She's a tall girl. She's probably 5'7". The tire and the thickness of the truck was taller than me. It was taller than her. And I'm like, holy moly, if she can drive that truck, she can build this business. So that's one thing you don't know about her. You have to post that picture again because it's amazing. So when I first, when I saw that picture, then when I met her in person, I'm like, well, she's going to be kind of rugged, right? But no, she's muscle, feminine, right? Well, I think to drive that truck, you got to have some muscles, right? But, you got muscles, but she's beautiful, she's feminine. And I'm like, I cannot picture you working in the coal mine. So in Australia, there's a lot of coal mining work. And that's one of the big reasons that these stay-at-home moms build this is because they want to bring their husbands back home. It's dangerous, it's dirty, it's away from the family for 2 to 3 weeks. And so they have a big, huge burden because they don't have a lot of times a spouse at home. So Janelle, I want to turn it over to you and tell us what you got for us today. Well, tell us your story, how you got involved, and then I'll ask stuff along the way.
Oh, thank you, Maria. I really should put that photo up so people can get the picture of that. Oh, it's so funny. And the other thing is, I met Gillian, who's going to get on. I met her partner in the mines. He was, coming out to fix my truck every now and then. So it was really funny that that's all turned around and now we're all in the business. It's so cool. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me on here. Yes, I'm from Australia. I hope our accent is okay for you guys. So I got into this business because, as Maria said, I wanted to bring my partner home from mining, but also I didn't want to go back to the 9 to 5 work or shift work in coal mining as a truck driver. So when you're doing truck driving, it's 12-hour days, night shifts and day shifts. You're away for weeks, a week or two at a time. And I knew I didn't want that for my family. I know some other families that do that, and it is such a big burden on them. And it's not the way I wanted to live our life. I like to have choices. I like to do things for myself that aren't around that sort of lifestyle. But not only that, my health was declining. So I had lower back issues. And that was because I was sitting for 12 hours a day in a truck. You're bouncing around, and the lower back issues were really playing their part. Not only that, though, my health was declining I had adrenal fatigue, and I didn't know I had adrenal fatigue at the time, but this is what was causing me to have so much fatigue in the afternoon, and also was causing me a lot of issues with doing night shift work for 7 days straight. My body wasn't coping. So, you think about, you're trying to pump yourself full of caffeine and keep yourself awake and eat the wrong type of foods just because you're trying to stay awake all night, for 12 hours. And it's not a natural thing to do that. And for my body, it was definitely not natural because I was not used to that type of shift work. So I knew I didn't want to go back to that. I said to myself, I'm never going to do that again. I had 5 years doing mining. I love the experience, and I really do think that it's a great experience to have, but I just knew that after having kids, I didn't want to do that. But what happened was, because I had given up mining, I didn't want to go back to 9 to 5 work. I ended up then going, well, what am I going to do with myself? My kids were 16 months old and 3.5 at the time when I basically found LifeVantage. And the way that happened was, I was just a shell of a person sitting on the couch, scrolling Facebook and flicking through TV channels going, okay, I'm a mum. I want to be the best version of a mum, but I feel like I'm just a shell of a person. I feel like I'm just I've lost my identity. I just feel like a cook and a cleaner and a milk machine. I didn't feel like much else was going on for me. And if someone asked me what my hobbies and interests were, I couldn't even answer that question. I'd just break down and go, I have no idea. I'd lost myself completely other than being a mum. And so this is where, this was going on for about 12 months straight of me feeling like I needed to be doing something else. I wanted to contribute to the family, but I had no idea what that was because I didn't want to go back to office jobs. I used to do admin secretary type work and before mining, and then I was doing retail jobs, and I didn't want any of that. I'm not someone who just goes and does work just to do work. I really feel like I like to do things because I'm passionate about them. And I wasn't passionate about those things. And I said to myself, I'm not going to go and do a job or go back to that type of lifestyle when it's just going to make me even feel even more like a waste of a person, or I'm wasting my time. And my family live 3 hours away from me on a plane flight. It takes me 3 hours to get to them. They're down in the other part of Australia. Tim, my partner, his family live on a cattle farm in New South Wales. So we also didn't have family support around here. And this was another reason I said I didn't want to go back to work, because we don't have support. I would have to put my kids in full-time care or after-school care and all this sort of stuff. And I didn't want to be that type of mum. Not that there's anything wrong with those people that have to do that, but there's a choice for me was not to do that. So I said to myself, I need to look at something I can do from home. And I looked into things that you could do from home. I was Googling, home businesses for mums, and things like accounting, hairdressing, beauty therapy were coming up, and then network marketing was coming up. And at the time, I've never had a stigma around network marketing. So at the time, I was looking at those network marketing companies because they were coming up with health and wellness companies. And I've always had a massive passion for health and wellness. I love food and anything to do with food or nutrition and all of that sort of stuff. So I thought, well, maybe I could do something in the health and wellness space. But what was coming up was not the right companies for me. I just didn't resonate with what their products were or the way that they promoted or anything like that. And I'd looked at about 8 different network marketing companies within a 12-month period. And I just said, I don't like any of them. What am I going to do here? Because I don't want to be a hairdresser. I don't want to do beauty. I didn't want to do accounting from home or bookkeeping. I have no idea what, and I'd given up. I basically said, this is not for me either. Like, what am I going to do? So at this time, it was that moment where I said, I've got no idea what I'm going to do. It was 2 weeks later. I remember it so well. It was 2 weeks later that I was scrolling Facebook and something came up about nutraceuticals and an information session. Now, I didn't know what that word was, but when I Googled it, it really sparked my interest around nutraceuticals. And from that day, I went to this person's house. We'd only just moved here to the Sunshine Coast, like 3 months earlier. So I didn't know anyone. But all of a sudden, I'm turning up to this person's house. I have no idea why I went there. My partner, Tim, was working away at the time. And I'm like, what am I doing coming to someone's house? And I've got no idea who they are. But I feel like I need to go. So I turned up to this meeting. And at that meeting, there was a few ladies there, a few women there that were really friendly. You know, they're now my upline, of course. And Amy Hillis was there. So you guys would know who Amy Hillis was. She had come over from America all the way over here, and she was there as well. And it was just the feel of the people in the room, but also this bit of paper that had oxidative stress and the list of diseases on this bit of paper that really caught my attention. And the reason for that was my father-in-law had passed away from motor neurone disease a couple of years earlier. And when it was on there, that motor neurone, or you guys call it ALS, I think, ALS.
Yes.
So you guys call it that. When that was on the list, I was like, oh my goodness, I think I need to look more into this. It just felt right to look more into this because they had no idea why my father-in-law had ALS. He didn't have the gene for it. He wasn't a sick person. He was very healthy, but all of a sudden it just came on. And so this is what made me start to look. So 3 days after I'd been to that information session, I joined the company. I'd never tried the products, but I knew from the science I had been reading over that 3 days. I had tunnel vision for my computer for 3 days. And my kids are like, Mom, what are you doing? You should be like helping us out and, being a mum. And I was like, sorry. But at the time I was just so stuck on this and I wanted it so bad. And it was just very interesting to me. And I can say the rest is history from there. And that was 4 years ago on the 27th of this month. It'll be 4 years. So that's about it, Maria. Thank you. Sorry, talk too much.
No, that was awesome. So 4 years and you're pro 6 in the business. And how many friends have you made now? Like you moved there with no friends, but you have made some super solid, connected with people, friendships, and you guys have such a tight team there, and and it's based on those friendships. So tell me, how did you build this with the 2 girls, right? I saw one of them popping in the back there. Of course they got to pop in. I love it. How did you build this with the 2 girls to keep the balance, and still be a mom? So how did you do that?
So at the time, because Zoe was 16 months old, she's still a baby, and Sienna was 3.5. They were very close in age. And what actually happened, I had to choose the time that I worked the business. So I had to give myself the grace that this was not going to be fast, and that I had to respect that it had to work around our family and our family's lifestyle. So a lot of it would happen at nighttime. My girls were very easy to put to bed. So they'd be in bed by 7 to 7:30 at night. And then after that, until about 10 p.m. every night, I would do as much as I could in the business. And during the day, it was hard because they need you. They're still young. They need you through the day. But there would be times when they'd go to sleep in the day and have their day naps. And I'd be able to do 10, 20 minutes or half an hour or an hour, depending on how much they slept. And with Sienna being 3.5 at the time, she wasn't sleeping in the day, but I could set her up to do some activities or different things that she could do while I did 20 minutes of work. So my business at that stage for the first 2.5 years was building it on a 10 to 20 minute basis. And it was just me knowing that, okay, at night I need to do this for the next day. So planning out the next day, I need to follow up with these people. I need to make some new contacts this way. And I wasn't going out a lot either. I'd go to parks or playgrounds and things every now and then and meet people, but my business was mainly online at this time because it was easier for me to do that while they're asleep or happily playing, and I could just be on the phone or the computer. So yeah, 10 to 20 minute bursts I would do that in. I would make sure that before that 20 minutes I knew what I was doing, and then for the 20 minutes I'd have really fast paced focused action, you know, for that time. And that's how I had to do it for that first sort of couple of years, you know, 2.5 years or so, because that's all I could do, you know. And as a mum, you don't have a choice. If your kids need you, they need you. You've got to put the phone down and you've got to go to them. You can't just keep saying, hang on a minute. You can't keep doing that because they get very frustrated. I've tried that and it doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, so what I'm hearing you saying, that 15, 20 minutes that you could carve out in your busy life, we always say, you know, if you work full time or you're full-time mom, build it in the nooks and crannies. But I know in the beginning, the first year, you were making calls. You were reaching out to people. So you said you were connecting on Facebook, but you were eventually sending them the info, reaching out. So it was all about sharing, you know, the information and getting people to look at the information and going from there.
Yeah, and I had
follow-up.
Yeah, so I had, at the time also, I had Maria, yourself, was saying, you know, cold call people. In my first year, I've still got the list. It's so embarrassing to look at that list of the people I used to cold call. And I just look at it and go, how did I do that? You know, the fear was not there. You know how we're hungry and we want this and we're excited, and you just do what you've got to do. And so, yeah, I mean, I was still talking to my friends and family, but at the time they didn't see me as this health expert or health professional in any way. So they weren't seeing the value in what I was saying. And third party, you know, I needed to use more of that, and I probably wasn't at the time. So that's something I had to learn along the way, was a lesson that I need to use third party validation a lot more. In my first year, I wasn't doing enough of that, and I learned the hard way that you have to do that.
Right.
But also the cold calling, I was just calling people up. I got a naturopath out of that at the time. She's only just stopped the product. That's like, you know, 4 years later, she's only just stopped it now, and we kept that contact over time. That was from a cold call, but she wasn't someone promoting it. She was just using it herself and had some great results. But yeah, and obviously that along the way with calling friends and family, reaching, I've always been someone who didn't always get on the phone, but I've always been a texter. Even when I was like 18, 19 years old, I'd be texting everyone. I didn't always call everyone. I've never been someone who would just get on the phone and call my friends. So that I would do it the way that suited the way we always spoke, you know. So don't go and be different or awkward, just do it the way you've always done it. So with some of those friends, I was just messaging them the way that I normally would, but I'd voice message, because obviously with Facebook, we know it's so much more powerful to voice message. And I was doing that and learning that along the way, that was the most powerful way for me at that time. And within that, it's now like, you know, some of my friends who would live, as I say, they're 3 hours plane ride away from us. They are only now, like 4 years later, some of them are only now still coming back to me and saying, oh, you're still doing that thing. I should really look into this again. And so it's crazy, right? How our friends and family are the worst.
Yeah.
The hardest.
Sometimes they can be. Yeah. Most of the time, I think they can be the toughest, you know, but you said it's because you're not that medical professional, a nutritionist. They saw you as a coma driving a big truck, right? Or administrative assistant.
Yeah.
But not someone that knew enough about nutrition. But I think now they've seen how you've grown and you've learned, and they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, they sometimes are I remember my family joined, they were always on the product, but they became distributors when I hit Pro 7, because it kind of showed to them like, whoa, you're making that Pro 7 income? And I'm like, yes, now I'm making that Pro 7 income. And that's what you'll see that will happen to you. Is as you get bigger and bigger, they're like, whoa, are you actually making money with this? And then like when you post that you retired, you know, your partner, you'd be like, whoa, he retired? Like, how'd you do that? It's like, well, I told you about this, you know, 8 years ago, 6 years ago, however, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, and that's how I did it, right? So yeah. So I told Janelle when I first met Janelle, and the Australian team always comes to global convention. And so we know here we have more events, but they have events there, but they always come for Global Convention. And when I remember meeting Janelle the first time, I told her, I said, you sparked this team. You brought another energy, right? Because I can't go to Australia every month, right? I have a family too, and I didn't build this to stay away from my family. So I did what I could online, but there's a certain thing when you're not there to, kind of get a feel for who's down, who's up. But I had noticed that the team was a little flat, right? They grew, and then they were a little flat. But when Janelle came in, she just sparked this, and that's why I say to people, one person will change your business overnight. One person, not that they're going to go gangbusters, but it's the energy they bring. It's, their excitement, the enthusiasm, and they're doing the things that you tell everybody else to do that doesn't do it. Janelle was doing it, and she was growing really fast at the beginning. And I said to her, I said, you turned this whole team around. Like, you sparked them again. You gave them passion again. You got them excited again. And from that, they've just been running like crazy. And your team has been growing like wild. So I'll have you introduce Gillian that you brought on. And I know you already said that your husbands work together. And her husband worked with you, actually. But I'll have you introduce her, and she can talk about team building and what she's done.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Maria. So, that's Jill and I met through myself and Tim working in the mines through her partner, her husband. So, and it's crazy. I just love how, we connect with people and it all comes back full circle and all this sort of stuff happens. But Jill and I got really close because we had our kids at very similar ages. They were only a year apart, basically, and we were just crying in each other's arms about how this parenthood stuff is meant to work and are we doing this right? And we'd just call each other. We only lived very close at that time to each other. We weren't very far away from each other. So we grew a special bond that way, and our kids really brought us together in that way as well. And we've been amazing friends ever since. But Gillian is someone who I see as such an incredible asset, and am so grateful to her for what she has in our business, because not only has she got so much integrity and professionalism, throughout her whole life, but what she brings to this business is just amazing. It's second to none, and I can't match what she does. She just has so many skills and different things in different ways that I look up to her in so many ways, and she teaches me so much. And not only is she, I don't like to say downline, because I see her on a level like, even probably more than me. And we really work well together, not only in friendship, but in business, because we have different aspects and skills that really, they combine really well. And Jill has such an incredible way of supporting her team in the best way possible. They all know that they can use her for support. They all look up to her in such a big way. And the way that she approaches her team and supports her team and is there for her team is something I learn from on a daily basis. And not only are we a great business team partnership, but we're also great friends. And I love everything that Jill teaches us along the way. Our whole team in Team Positive, what she teaches us along the way is just incredible. And so I'll hand it over to Jill to speak a bit more about what she has done with growing culture and leadership within her team and what we did for the retreat. God, it was so fun. Thank you so much, Jill. I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Janelle, for that beautiful introduction. It's a bit hard to go from there. But look, the feelings are so mutual. I'm so grateful to have Janelle not only as a friend, but now as a business partner as well. So just to tell you a little bit about me really quickly, my background's in education, taught for many years, went to the Royal School Principal, did that for a few years before I took maternity leave to have my first son. I didn't want to go back to work. I wanted to be able to stay home, but I wasn't looking for another business. I was happy just being the stay-at-home mum. It was only that Janelle reached out to me because of my family history. And in short, I've lost a dad to cancer. I've lost my sister after open heart surgery, and health was a big priority in our family. We've always been healthy, but little things kept sneaking up. And so it was a reminder that we still needed to be very proactive. And Janelle knew my family history, and she was just like, Jill, you've just got to look at the information. And at the time, I was heavily pregnant. I was very close to being due with my second child. And so I sort of brushed it to the side a bit. But once I'd had him and I looked into it a bit more, I knew that it was something that not only I wanted to take, but I wanted my whole family to take. And in the area that I was in, there was nobody. There was no one within an 800-kilometre radius of where I lived. And because I knew I wanted my family and I wanted to share it with some friends, I just went for the business option because there was no pressure as well. It's that one bottle on auto ship a month, which was going to happen anyway. So I saw the opportunity in getting a bulk amount of product and sharing it with family and friends. It was the people that I did share with that came back to me and had good results, and it started to grow from there. But a bit like Janelle, like you're building it in the nooks and crannies of time that you have, because my bub was only 6 weeks old and my eldest was only 2.5. So this is actually the first year. So I've been in Life Vantage for just over 3 years. And this is the first year where I've actually got one in prep. So he's just started his first year of schooling. And the other one has just started 2 days a week at kindy. So I actually have the school hours, so from after 9 till nearly 3 o'clock, I've got about 4 or 5 hours in a day to myself. It's amazing. So anyway, this is something you can do part-time. So I'm Pro 5 in the business and I've built that up. I hit Pro 5 in just under 2 years, and I've been on Pro 5 for a little bit because we've had a lot going on, but I'm very close. I'm going to be Pro 6 very soon. I promise that.
Awesome. I love that you put it out there. Yeah.
I'm putting it out there. I'm so close. I'm definitely there in the next couple of months. It'll happen. So anyway, for me, because I was in an area all by myself, it was very much about trying to get things up off the ground and building that culture and that connectedness. And for me, it was based a lot on the feelings that I felt because, Janelle is a close girlfriend of mine and she used to live close by. And I could see her down on the Sunshine Coast with all of the rest of the team. And I could see them getting together for their Super Saturdays and their lunches and their catch-ups. And I was just too far away to be able to do that sort of thing. And I had young children and, and while I'd go down for the big events when we'd have a corporate tour or, things like that, I'd always go down to be a part of it. It was that feeling I took away from being connected with them that made me want to build that for my team here as well. So I started doing our very own Super Saturday. So every month we'd get together, we'd have a presentation, and then we'd have a team lunch followed by training. And, we've been doing this for years, and every time we would get together, you could feel a team sort of go, and they'd want to share all their stories and they'd go away and they'd be energized again and ready to run and do things. And it would just build that connectedness, and you're surrounded by people that were like-minded, had the same energy, all of those things. So it was really powerful. And so more recently, I have done a team retreat. So we had our first team retreat. It was the end of May, so 23rd and 24th of May. And that was something that I had been working on in my mind for months and months beforehand. You had that, can I do it? No, I can't. Can I do it? Yes, maybe. And you sort of build up to it. But the things that led to me doing that, so like I said, going down to the Sunshine Coast and connecting with the team and knowing how that made me feel. And then I was also lucky to go to the Bahamas last year, and I wanted to bring that energy back to the team because, you're with so many like-minded people, and there's something about being around the people who are really invested in this that just drives you to want to do more. And I wanted to bring that back to the team as well. And then when we did the Sydney Success Conference as well, so that was another one that you had to qualify for. And again, you got all those people together, and I wanted to bring that energy back to them. And, there were so many events along the way, the Leadership Academy, and I just thought, how can I get this back to my team? Because I've got so many that are only, half a leg in the game, and, they'll do little bits here and there, but I just wanted them to feel that energy and make it achievable for them. So a big part of it was making this really affordable. So I looked at all the venues around our area. I looked at dates available and tried to make this as budget friendly as possible. So some people probably think I'm crazy for what I did, but I loved it. I absolutely thrive off this stuff, the organisation, the preparation. So I did all the meal plans. It was all self-catered. We did all of the food prep. We did beautiful meals. We had a lot of guess dietary requirements to cater for, so we sort of had to cover all bases. But you know, we brought out the slow cookers and the thermo mixers and lots of fruits and vegetables and salads and all the good stuff, and we did all of that. So that was probably the trickiest part. But apart from that, the time that we had together for that 2 days, there were so many moments in between that you just don't get from being with a group for a couple of hours at a time. So you had the lunch breaks, the afternoons. I dragged them all out of bed at 5:30 in the morning and took them around this big hill. So we've got this, it was right on the beach where we were, and we've got this beautiful walk. It's about 2.5 kilometres, but it goes right up this big mountain. We watched the sunrise over the islands. We took some photos and came back down, and it was spectacular. And I told them all, you're probably going to hate me to begin with, but afterwards you're going to be so grateful for how you feel. And it's a bit like this journey, like you're going to hate me for the things that you're going to have to do in this business, because it's hard. It's going to push you out of your comfort zones. It's going to be a challenge, but you're going to love the rewards that come afterwards, and that sense of achievement and fulfillment, and you know, the gratitude that comes back from the lives that you're going to change. That's when you're going to look back and go, thank you for making me do this. So it was a nice little thing to go around. But I guess what's come since we're having had that retreat is, you know, in the last few weeks alone, we've had people who have just been slowly going along. They've gone, right, I'm going to do this. And they've gone out, they've done their own presentations for the first time. So we had one of our girls, she just turned Pro 3 at the end of last month. So she pushed in that last week that we had. She's like, I'm doing it. She went for it. She got it. She got Pro 3. She got team members to Pro 2. She went and presented her own meetings back in her hometown, which was a couple of hours from where we were. We had, you know, that connectedness of the team. So even though there were people in other legs, so they were cross-line, you can see now on Facebook they're all commenting on each other's posts. There's more action happening there. There's more curiosity being created. There's more interaction and likes and loves and all of that team connectedness that you really want. So it was just unreal. The things that have just come from that following on, the feedback has been phenomenal. So now it's just a matter of getting that next one happening. So we're looking to do them every 6 to 12 months. The ladies on the Sunshine Coast are keen as to get one going for their team as well. So we might have to do ours every 12 months so we can go and join them on the sunny coast. But yeah, that was a quick summary of it. Maria, I don't know if you had any questions on that. I see it's 12 o'clock already.
Yeah, you're 8 hours. How many hours are you away from Janelle?
About an 8-hour drive.
So it's an 8-hour drive away from each other. So this is what I love that you did, is that you were alone, you know, on the Rockhampton, which is, I've been there, and it's a beautiful beach area. I mean, it's mountainous and beaches. I mean, it's just gorgeous. I wish I had spent more time there, but I'll have to do that sometime. But she was alone, and this is the thing. Gillian took leadership into her own hands. She didn't wait for anyone, right? Right from the get-go, she was the one doing her own presentations, like, really quickly. Like, nobody came to do them for you. We would do Zooms and stuff, but you didn't build as much on Facebook, where you were face-to-face with people. I mean, it's a smaller community, tighter. So you built face-to-face. So you needed to do it. You needed to figure out how to present. Give me the PowerPoint. What am I going to say? And that's when you see leaders, right? Is when they take a hold of it and then they go and they do it themselves. That's what you're looking for. And for everybody out there, that's what you're looking for. For someone that doesn't keep calling you to do everything, that they take it and they run with it. And then to set up this retreat, because you are further away, and to get to some of the other events and to build. And so you invited, you know, some of your upline to come. So you had presenters. So your upline came as presenters, and their stories that people have never heard. And finally to see like a real person face to face and their story, and really see that they are real people that have done this, and not just someone that you see, you know, on a video like this, but you hear their stories. They poured their heart into it, and that's what makes it that team building. Because now what I believe is that your team now believes in themselves, because they've seen Janelle, Carrie Christie went, right? So they've seen real people that are having success in this. You know, all stay-at-home moms, you know, and or working women. So they now believe, I think, in themselves is what I see happens when people do things like this and take it. So I think it's phenomenal what you did. I think I'm just in awe of, you know, how you took that over, and organizing that is a big task, and you still have your kids, but yeah, it was phenomenal. It's like, don't you see that energy now in your team and how it's changing now?
It's been incredible. Everyone is on such a high after that event. And even now they still come back with the little comments, you know, I can't wait to do it again. And I love that we had this time together. And yeah, it's certainly going to be something that's going to have a lasting impact for a while until we do it again. And then we boost it up again.
Exactly. Well, thank you, ladies. That was amazing. Great tips, and just your stories and your passion and how you did this. It's good for other people to see, because people say, how do you build it in a different country? Well, you don't do it a lot different. They're showing the ABC, even though they don't have the ABC news station like we have here. They explain it from, whatever they have there, and say, this is like our current affair, right? So they found a comparison to say, this is like if our current affair came in, and this is what they found. So they build it just like we do, and they get, the no's, the yeses, the ups and downs, everything that goes into it. And I cannot wait to see, a Pro 7 in Janelle, and a Pro 6 in Gillian, and then soon Pro 7 after that. I'm so excited. Keep building. It's about building belief in people. And how do they believe in themselves? When they see other people that they can relate to, that they can believe in them, and then they can see, hey, I can do this too. So, all right, ladies, thank you so much. Everyone have a blessed night, and take care and have an amazing week. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.